So, as many of you may know, the federal government came out with a new FAFSA Simplification Act process for the upcoming 24-25 academic year. We know that the department ran into several different issues from the beginning, which they thoroughly pushed to work through. First issue, of course, is that the FAFSA was not available until December 30th for students and parents to complete. And then after the FAFSA was made available, the institutions as well as the state agencies had a delay on receiving what we call ICER's Institutional Student Information Records, which incorporate the FAFSA data in there. So one of the first biggest issues, of course, is the department had where individuals that were citizens or eligible non-citizens, but their parents were undocumented or had no social, their parents were unable to complete their section of the FAFSA. Based off that, Maryland Higher Education Commission pushed back the final deadline date for a student to complete the FAFSA and be considered for awards directly connected to the FAFSA to June 1st. So when I say awards directly connected to the FAFSA, students who complete the FAFSA are automatically reviewed for eligibility for the Howard P. Rawlings Educational Excellence Awards programs, which consist of the Guaranteed Access Grant and the Educational Assistance Grant. And students are automatically reviewed for eligibility for the Promise Scholarship if they list a Maryland community college on their FAFSA. So with those, we knew that students may have certain issues and pushed back the deadline. Additionally, we pushed back implemented a priority filing date, which we had as one date, and then due to issues with the federal government, pushed it back till May 15th. That priority filing date was the date in which if a student completed the FAFSA by that priority filing date, which I'll go over, then that student would be considered in the first initial batch or overall initial batches of priority awards to students. So next issues that arose as we started receiving FAFSAs is about 20% of applications were affected by one of the three issues listed on the PowerPoint. Some data fields were pulled from mixed information and updated incorrectly. Education tax credit field was inaccurate. And in other instances where an individual could not pull in or retrieve their IRS tax information and did a manual, the directions on how or what brackets or fields was incorrect. To resolve this, around April 3rd, the federal government hosted a tax data discrepancy in school support webinar in which they indicated they would provide two lists to institutions and state agencies. One list were records with no unaffected errors, or with records unaffected by known errors, and the other list records affected by known errors. Based off the list the Department of Ed provided and the number of FAFSAs we received, Maryland has received 136,000 FAFSA records. Of that 136,000, 22,530 have been identified as errors, in which the Department of Ed will be providing subsequent ICERs with corrections to correct those errors. 15,617 were rejects, and total ICERs, no errors or rejects, was 98,318, and that's based off the total number of records we have thus far. Additionally, I indicate family size in regards to FAFSAs that have a null value for family size, and we'll go in further detail of how that impacts us moving forward. What's key is that once we pull in ICERs into our production environment, so because of the many different errors and issues that have been affected by the Department of Education, we've been very careful not to just pull in ICER records into our production environment, because we know that those errors affect the student, what the student sees. So as they provide those two lists, we've identified those lists, tested those lists, and what we will do is, once we pull in ICERs, which we plan on doing at the end of this weekend, over the weekend, which ICERs will be available for all students to see, as well as the students who have completed the MHEC-1 app will be available for students to see. Neither are yet available to see because as ICERs changed, or the federal government gave updated information into calculating certain things like SAI and what fields, we had to adjust the MHEC-1 app to do the same, so it matched how the federal government was calculating the same way the FAFSA. But those are planned to be available this Monday, April 22nd, for students and families to be able to see in the MDCAP system. So students will get either one or the other type of message. Students that have no errors or rejects will get a message saying that we've received their FAFSA. They can review their FAFSA on their MDCAPs. They can see if there's any required documents that they need to submit. Students that have an error ICER will say that we received their FAFSA. However, the federal government has indicated or found different errors with their FAFSA, and that we will process their information once a new corrected ICER comes in. I'll reiterate this later, but let me say, individuals that have completed a FAFSA and have one of these error records, we are defining those error records in the system. If an individual has completed the FAFSA with one of those error records, that individual has completed the FAFSA prior to May 15th, and we will ensure that that individual is awarded as one of the priority awards. Even if that student is not, even if we don't receive that record when we do our initial awarding, we will guarantee that that student is awarded as long as they meet all GA eligibility requirements, and once we get the corrected ICERs from the federal government. So family size is very key, as I indicate, because although the federal government gives us an SAI, GA eligibility is based off, one of the requirements at least, is that an individual qualifies for GA if they are within 130% of the federal poverty guideline based off their household size. So based off the household size, we've looked at the ICERs that we received, done a rough or completed a rough estimate. So when I say rough estimate, there are different pieces that we're still missing. So this is more of a larger estimate. We looked at individuals that were under the age of 25. We looked at individuals that had the household size or family size and the income to see how many students would fit within each bracket. Then we took the average award of GA from 2020 to 2024, just to get kind of a rough estimate, but not go overboard. And we looked at, these are the total amounts of students that would be eligible to receive the Guaranteed Access Grant, and the total amount awarded for each different bracket. So again, this is an overestimate. It may be less because we're not seeing yet how many students are actually in the undergrad program, how many students are going full-time, how many students are working on their first bachelor's degree instead of their second bachelor's. So again, I want to point out it's a rough estimate, but it gives us an idea of how much we would need to have for the Guaranteed Access Grant that we'd be spending. So our current challenges, as I indicate, household size, family size is very key. Because of the way that the new FAFSA is structured, family size is identified in several different areas of the FAFSA. And the federal government did give calculations on, or structure on, how to actually identify and calculate family size from the household or from the FAFSA. However, there are instances in which the FAFSA will never have a family size. It will always be a no value. So in cases where you have a dependent student whose parents are not required to file a federal tax return, or independent student or and spouse, if applicable, who is not required to file a federal tax return for the prior tax year is assigned a SAI equal to -15, which is a Pell 1. Those individuals, the federal government does not require or allow them to put their household size. Basically, when they go through the FAFSA, as soon as they indicate that they are not required to file taxes and have not filed taxes, the federal government moves past any additional questions about family size and everything else and goes directly to saying that you're eligible for the Pell Grant, which makes it a little bit difficult for Maryland Higher Education Commission, being that the Guaranteed Access Grant is based off of household size or family size and the total income. What MHEC is doing for this is MHEC is working with our vendor in which we will identify those students that have a no value for household size. Those students will be given a requirement in which they will be able to input their household size. Additionally, we are working with our vendor so that each institution will have a roster of students that have been identified that have a no value of family size. And if that institution does have that information available to them, that institution can put that information for the student, in which it will satisfy that requirement in order for us to calculate their guaranteed access eligibility. So just quick, again, a brief overview of the guideline, 130% with the household size and 130% of the 2022 poverty level. So before we move forward, let me also talk about the MHEC One app and undocumented students. So as many know, Maryland did push out the MHEC One app, which is one application in which undocumented students and all students can complete to apply for programs. Undocumented students, the programs that are directly connected to the FAFSA, the same programs. Where those students aren't eligible for federal student aid, those individuals can create an MD-CAPS account, log into their MD-CAPS account, and complete the MHEC One app, in which there is a section for undocumented students. As well as those students can also apply for other scholarships that are not directly connected to just doing the FAFSA or the MHEC One app if you don't select those programs. Students who have completed the FAFSA must complete the FAFSA. The MHEC One app does not supplement or count for the same as the FAFSA. However, those students that have completed the FAFSA may go into the MHEC One app to apply for one of our other programs, such as cybersecurity, the Teaching Fellows program that we have, police officer scholarship. We have over about 30 different financial assistance programs that a student may be eligible for. Several of them, one of them. So definitely, even if they've completed the FAFSA, they should look at that to see if they qualify for other programs. Right. And again, students that are undocumented and eligible to complete the FAFSA can use that MHEC One app. When the FAFSA information becomes available on the 22nd, Monday the 22nd, the MHEC One app information will become available as well. Although MHEC students who have completed the MHEC One app did receive a confirmation email saying that they did complete it, so they should hold on to that. We do have a record of it, but it's good for them to have a record of it themselves. So before I get into awarding timeline, let's talk about the FAFSA completion initiative. As I indicated, FAFSA records will be available in MD-CAPS on April 22nd, Monday, April 22nd. The schools, high school districts, local education agencies, and nonprofit organizations that are part of the FAFSA completion initiative will be able to load a list of their high school seniors at that point in time and be able to export a list indicating of those high school seniors which ones have completed the FAFSA, which ones have not, which ones have been determined as potentially eligible for the Educational Assistance Grant or the Guaranteed Access Grant or the Promise Scholarship if they listed a community college on their FAFSA. As far as timeline, Our timeline remains consistent, and we are confident that we will be able to move forward with our timeline. Starting May 1st, we will begin awarding students that have completed the FAFSA by April 15th. As long as the student has not been selected for verification, or if the student has been selected for verification and the documents were submitted, then they would be awarded as long as they meet all eligibility criteria. May 15th, we will award all students that completed their FAFSA or submitted documents prior to May 1st. So those individuals will be included in that second batch of awards. And then we will keep awarding students until all students who have completed a FAFSA or MHEC-1 app have been awarded. Students that have completed the FAFSA will have up to students who have completed a FAFSA or MHEC-1 app May 15th or prior will have up till June 15th to submit any required documents if selected for verification. And those students, we will guarantee that as long as they meet the eligibility requirements, they will receive a guaranteed access grant. Talking about verification, due to the issues with the FAFSA, we have reduced verification to a small percentage, and we have put it in categories. So there are two categories of selection: automated and randomized. When we talk about automated is applicants that indicated they have a GED. For those individuals, a tracking requirement will immediately go on their empty caps in which they can upload a copy of their GED transcript. Applicants who have identified as independent for reasons other than working on a master's or professional degree or 24 years of age or older will also be selected to provide documentation to support their independence. The randomized group consists of two subgroups. This is only for initial applicants that have not been selected for federal verification. Applicants with an IRS response code of 203, 206, or 212 will be a small 3 to 5%. Will be selected for verification, in which the applicant would complete a dependent or independent verification worksheet, depending on which area they are, as well as request for a copy of their 2022 taxes. For 214, due to a contributor did not file a tax return, that individual, again, a dependent or independent verification worksheet and a non-filing form for those individuals. And then MHEC-1 app applicants identified as eligible for the Guaranteed Access Grant or Educational Assistance Grant, 3 to 5% of those individuals will be selected, and those will be the same criteria as the applicants with the IRS response code. If those individuals identified that they filed taxes, then we would request a copy of their taxes. If those individuals identified that they did not file taxes, it would be the non-filed. We are in the midst of sending out to schools, and I know we sent it out a lot earlier before, but due with the issues with the FAFSA, we will be sending out communication to the institutions for institutions that choose to do verification themselves to elect to do that and send that form back to us, letting us know that they are electing to do verification instead of us doing the verification on the student. Guaranteed Access Grant eligibility requirements. File the FAFSA or MISPA no later than June 1, 2024. That's to be considered eligible at all. However, May 15th is our priority awarding deadline where we're guaranteeing any student. It's not May 15th yet, so students can still do the FAFSA, but we're guaranteeing that students who complete the FAFSA from May 15th, we will make sure they get awarded as long as they meet all eligibility requirements, the Guaranteed Access Grant. Recent changes: high school cumulative GPA is no longer required. GED score must be 145 before, where it had to be 165. Now it's 145, which is the minimum score needed to obtain a GED. Applicant must apply within 6 years of high school graduation, whereas before it was 1 year. Now they have up to 6 years. And applicants must be under, I stress, under the age of 26. The award amount this year is projected to be $22,100. And some individuals may ask, well, if a student was ineligible last year, because of their GPA. Would that student be eligible now? If a student never received a Howard P. Rawlings grant and they are eligible this year, that student then becomes eligible this year to receive the funds. Our priority of awards will be GA renewals, EA renewals, and then GA initials. EA initials will be our last priority of awards. Based off law, we are required to award all GA students first as the neediest students. Once we award all GA students, we will determine if there are remaining funds. If there are remaining funds, then we will begin to award EA initials based off students with the most need. However, if there are not remaining funds, we will not be able to award EA initial students. And once again, MHEC aims to award students as quickly as possible for students that have been timely in FAFSA submission in an effort to provide a clear financial aid picture for families to make the best decisions for them. That ends my presentation, so I'll open it up for if there are any questions.
Al, thank you so much. Thank you for such a comprehensive overview. Those who are in virtual land and Zoom, it's a new day in Maryland for higher education, and there are several educational opportunities that will allow students to move through their educational degree attainment to become productive citizens, whether it's entrepreneurs or entering into the workforce. We have a few questions in the chat box. Al, I'm going to read one of them to you. And again, everyone, if you will put your questions in the chat box, we will get to you as soon as possible at the end of each presentation. So with that, Al, the first question, I'm going to back up a little bit, comes from Pranithya. How do you add an additional parent during the corrections period into the FAFSA application?
So when the student goes back into the FAFSA for the correction, that student is going to identify again if their parents are married, if their parents are separated. If their parents are separated, is the parent that they're using remarried? If they indicate any of those questions that is different from before, it will ask them to add both of the individuals in such a case. Let's say that prior, I put my father on there, and for some reason, I didn't think about putting my stepmother on there. I didn't know I was required to. Now I go back in the FAFSA for a correction, and I say, yes, still using my stepfather, but he is remarried. Once they indicate that the stepfather is remarried and they see they don't have that information for the stepmother, then they would ask for that information. That student would be able to put that
information. Al, thank you. Thank you. We have a few more questions, if you'll stand by, Al. We have one from Nikki. If your student received the GA grant last year and filed their FAFSA by the deadline this year, will they receive the same amount as the previous year?
So the amount is based off the student's cost of attendance, their SAI, their student aid index, and how much Pell they'll be receiving. So I can never guarantee that that student will receive the same amount. For instance, the student might have received $15,000, but the institution's cost went up. The student has a zero SAI. They're receiving the same amount of Pell or even more Pell. So that amount is going to be different because one, the cost of attendance was higher, which almost create an opportunity for the student to receive more funds. But if the Pell is higher, then that may be not as much of those more funds. So it really depends on the student's need, which is based off the institution they're attending. Additionally, if the student lived on campus 1 year and then this year is not going to live on campus, their cost of attendance is going to be different as well. So it really is going to look at what that cost is, what goes into that cost, and what the student's SAI and Pell is going to be. But as long as that student remains Pell eligible, that student will receive the Guaranteed Access Grant, as long as they remain Pell eligible and met all other requirements.
Thank you. We have time for one more question before we have to shift. Dana, hello. Can you explain again who should complete the One Act? I called yesterday and one rep said it was required, but when I called back, a different rep said it wasn't required. For context, my student is a U.S.-born citizen.
Right. So if a individual is a U.S. born citizen, they are eligible to complete the FAFSA. Like I said, the MHEC One app does not replace the FAFSA. Now, if that individual did the FAFSA, they are going to be automatically reviewed for the Guaranteed Access Grant or the Educational Assistance Grant and the Promise Grant if the individual listed a community college on their FAFSA. However, we have, again, over 30 different programs. So if that student is going to be a cybersecurity major or education major, or if that student may qualify for another one of our scholarship programs, that individual may want to complete the MHEC One app to apply for other programs outside of the Guaranteed Access Grant, the Educational Assistance Grant, or the Promise Grant. So that's where the individual said they're not required, but they can, because it's one application for all, and there's different uses for the application.
Thank you. Thank you, Al. Thank you. We have a few more questions populating in, but we'll circle back to those questions. Al, before the question and answer session, you mentioned the new requirements under GA, and these requirements also expand for what's called the service year. Today, we have with us the Maryland Department of Service and Civic Innovation. Ms. Brittany Stevens, she's here with us today to present and share information to you all that could be shared with students and families who you come in contact with. Brittany, we're proud to have you here today to share more about the great work your agency is doing and to shine a spotlight on the importance of public service, especially with the recent tragedy of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. We know now more than ever that we are all bound together and we must help to support one another in our communities. With that, Brittany, I will turn the floor over to you. And again, thank you for being here with us today and partnering with MHEC to get your message out for DCSI.
Thank you, Dirk, for that warm welcome. And happy Winning Wednesday to everyone that is on the call right now. Once again, my name is Brittany Stevens, and I am the member recruitment lead for the very fine Department of Service and Civic Innovation. We're the babies on the block, the new kids on the block, the newest agency in state government, brought to fruition only a year ago in April of 2023 through the SERVE Act. And if you've heard of the SERVE Act, it's an amazing act. It stands for Serving Every Region Through Vocational Exploration. And this program that I'm about to bring forth to you is for the entire state of Maryland, especially for those individuals that want to take a gap year. I like to call it a growth year because they will be growing, they'll be learning, and they will be earning money. So that is a huge incentive. So the Maryland Core Service Year option, I like to say it's 2 streams and 1 river, right? So Maryland Core, that's for anyone that is over the age of 18 years of old. They can be 18 to 99 as long as you are able to work, right? Service Year option, that's for that student that's sitting in your class right now, or that recent high school graduate, or that person that just finished their GED. The service year option is anyone through the ages of 18 to 21, recent high school grad, or those that have recently completed their GED certificate. The only requirements for the service year option is the age, right? You do have to also be a Maryland resident to be a part of service year option. However, for those that are not Maryland residents, but still would like to be in the program, you have the Maryland Core. There is no GPA. We don't check backgrounds of your educational level. That will be the Maryland Core right there. You don't even have to be documented to be in those programs. So I'm pretty sure a lot of light bulbs is going off right now because you're thinking there's somebody that can benefit from the program, but what are the benefits and impacts that they're going to get? I'm glad that you was thinking that because I want to share with you right now. So for the program, it is a 9-month program. And before I go on, if you don't remember anything else from this presentation, remember serve.maryland.gov. That is our website, serve.maryland, and Maryland is spelled out, .gov. Our application is open right now. Our member application should take about 20 minutes to fill out. And just like Al said, our member application, our second deadline is coming up on May 15th. That must be a really great day in the state of Maryland. We should have some type of party or something. But anyway, for the service year option, Maryland Core, right? $15 an hour minimally. And this is what we do with the program. We match our participants to best of our ability to a nonprofit, for-profit, or a government agency that they're passionate about, something that makes their heart beat, something that they aspire to get into. We all know on this call right now, it may be a little bit challenging to find a job if you don't know someone that is already working there. We're the people you know. We're the advocates. We're the agents that are going to help place members across the state of Maryland to something that they're passionate about. Also, we consider where you live at. We want to make sure that we're placing you into an organization, nonprofit, for-profit, or government agency that is within your area in which you live. So you're not driving all the way across the bridge if you are on Eastern Shore going to Central Maryland. We want to make sure that it is in great transportation areas for you. Outside of that, also including to the 9 months, we also have health benefits. Every member gets health benefits. We have professional development, and our professional development is amazing. I must say, not just because they pay me to say so, but it is amazing. It's truly engaging. We teach advocacy, how to have difficult conversations on the job, how to negotiate your salary, things that we all need and also can refresh ourselves with while we're in the workforce, right? We also assist with bill pay. We assist with childcare, housing, clothing, and also food and transportation. So we try to eliminate as many barriers to entry of success as possible. And it's still ringing bells for you right now because you're on serve.maryland.gov and you're like, hey, this could be a great program for somebody that I know. And it is, but it gets better. We also have on-site mentors for every member, as well as we have coaches that check in with our members on an every other week basis. So they're really understanding, how is this program working for you? Is this something that you want to continue on? Because if you want to continue on in this program, you can stay on for at least 2 more years, making that $15 an hour, getting those wraparound services, that professional development. And at the end of the 9 months, cha-ching, 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 every member is granted $6,000. Yes, $6,000 to every member. We do give that $6,000 out in 2 different ways. The first way, if a person is taking this as a gap or growth year, we want to put that money into a Maryland 529 account so it can actually go to tuition, right? However, if college is not in their near and dear future, that is okay as well. We want to make sure that we give that $6,000 cash stipend in hand to our members as well. So once again, serve.maryland.gov. We match members to our best of our ability to something that they're passionate about within the workforce. We have focus areas that include but aren't limited to climate, conservation, historic trades, information technology, public safety, and public health. But it's not limited to that. We match you to that host site partner. That's our partnering organizations. We call them host site partners. You're there for 9 months. The program this year will start September 11th, which is our National Day of Service. You get wraparound services, professional development, and $6,000 at the end of the program. I want to sign up right now, but I know that you all want to sign up as well. So you're going to go on to serve.maryland.gov, an amazing opportunity for each and every one. And please be a champion of this program. Be an advocate of this program. Let people know we want to spread this message far and wide. We're currently in 19 jurisdictions out of 24 in the state of Maryland. We have a very achievable goal of being in all 24 jurisdictions across the state of Maryland. And with your help, we can do such. So thank you, Derek. Thank you, MHAC, for inviting me today. I'll yield right there to see if anyone has any questions.
Brittany, thank you. Thank you so much for your informative presentation. This updated information is very, very powerful. We did have one question, Brittany, if you'll stand by. Is the change regarding the requirements of the Guaranteed Access Grant only beneficial to students under 26 years old and not older? Did you?
That's a question for me, Derek, correct?
Oh, sorry, Al. Yeah, okay.
Yes. So unfortunately, the law does require that the student must be under the age of 26 in order to be considered eligible for the guaranteed access.
All right. And then, are there any additional questions in the chat box? I don't see anyone posting. Again, serve.maryland.gov. Am I correct, Brittany?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, all right. You all please share this information far and wide. There were two additional questions. And Brittany, just hang on with us if you will stay online. Oh, there's one more new message just popped up. Let me see. Oh, someone said thank you. All right, you're welcome, most definitely. Brittany, hang tight. There may be another question, but Al, I want to pop back to you because there were two more questions. Al, is the town hall meeting today relevant for independent students and postgraduate students?
So independent students can be a graduate student or undergraduate student. So I definitely would say yes to both independent students and postgraduate students. Additionally, for a postgraduate student, you want to do the FAFSA because that determines your federal eligibility. But there are also different programs that MHEC has specifically for students working on a graduate or professional degree program, as well as some of those programs like the teacher stipend, or not teacher stipend, the teaching fellowship graduate students can apply for as well. So definitely, I would say students want to go to our website, again, mhec.maryland.gov, click on Need Money for College, and it'll list all our different programs. Students definitely want to go on there and look at what funds are eligible to them, whether they're working on an undergraduate degree or graduate degree. Derek, there was one key question as well that I saw. A parent asked, did they need to sign the FAFSA?
Absolutely, Al. Yes. Touch
So
on that,
yes,
please.
a parent, if you have a dependent student, which the federal government identifies what's dependent and what's independent. But if your student is dependent and they have listed you as their individual that they are dependent upon, then you are required to sign the FAFSA in order for that FAFSA to process. How do parents sign the FAFSA? Parents should go to federalstudentaid.gov. Again, federalstudentaid.gov. Create a username and password. We used to call it FSA user ID. Now the federal government is really pushing towards studentaid.gov username and password. So again, studentaid.gov. Create a username and password. And from that, you will be able to put in your student's information, and it will take you to your section for you to complete the FAFSA.
All right. Brittany, I want to pop back over to you if I can. I see you're in the chat box as well, but just so everyone can actually hear this answer as well, Brittany, can any adult apply to serve.maryland.gov, or is it just students? So Brittany, if you could illuminate that question, please.
Absolutely. Anyone can apply. So the service year option is anyone that is the age of 18 to 21, recent high school graduates, or completion of their GED. However, Maryland Core, minimum age 18. So you can be 18 all the way to 99.
All right. So are you all clear? The Maryland Core program will allow anyone from 18 up. And the Serve Maryland growth year, as Ms. Brittany stated, looks at those students who are 18 to 21. All right. Okay. I see the thumbs up as well. Thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for joining us virtually today. We do want to make sure that we've answered all of your questions. I'm checking the chat box, and I see that we have touched on all of the questions that have been posed. Al, there was one more question, if you'll stand by, but I wasn't quite clear whether or not if this was more suited for the U.S. Department of Education. The question states, are the stats that the U.S. Department of Education is releasing about the FAFSA submission rates, excluding all the students who tried and submitted a FAFSA, but their submissions were rejected because of student and or parent and or consent errors? I'm not sure that's a question you can answer. It may be a question at the federal level, but Al, what do you think?
That is a question at the federal level in regards to who they said they processed. I mean, the only thing that I can in some way speculate is because we do have rejected FAFSAs and we do have error FAFSAs. In some cases, it may include some of those, but in other cases, it may not. So really, that would really be a Department of Education question to get a clear, concise answer.
All right. Again, everyone, thank you all for joining us today during this segment, looking at FAFSA as well as Maryland Service Year, Department of Service and Civic Innovation. Thank you all for tuning in. Al, Brittany, thank you so much. Again, I cannot say thank you enough. Please push the FAFSA completion. This is the FAFSA Awareness Week here across the country by the Department of Education, but more importantly, also stress the importance of Maryland and the Department of Service and Civic Innovation and the Service and the Growth Year that Brittany shared with us. Please tell students and families. Thank you all again for tuning in. Thank you.